Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about the film One Body, Too Many, which is an American film produced in 1944 starring Bela Lugosi. An insurance salesman goes to the house of one of his clients who was an eccentric millionaire, and he wanted to sell him an insurance policy in the amount of $200,000. However, when the insurance salesman arrived in the mansion, he found out that his client was already dead. And even worse, his millionaire client had left a will. And in the will, it was written that he wanted to be buried in a specific way, in a kind of glass coffin, because this millionaire, he was an ardent researcher about the stars. He liked to see the stars in the telescope, astrology, and etc. And he wanted to be buried in a kind of glass coffin on the roof because he wanted to be close to the stars. And if his last will wasn't met, the relatives who would receive the largest share of his inheritance wouldn't receive much, and vice versa. So the family was waiting until this coffin was constructed in the roof, and then the entire will could be read, so each relative would know what they would inherit or not. For this reason, the family had hired a private detective with the purpose of guarding the body, because there was a risk that the body of the millionaire, which was still in the mansion, there was a risk that the body of the millionaire was stolen, because the relatives supposedly didn't know who would inherit the largest share or not. And if any relative maybe got suspicious that they would receive a lower share of the inheritance, maybe this relative could steal the corpse, so the millionaire wouldn't be buried the way he wanted, and the will would be reversed, which means those who would receive less money would receive more money, and vice versa. Unfortunately, the insurance salesman, he was mistaken for the detective. And then he said that he wasn't the detective, that he only wanted to sell an insurance. Their relatives explained that his client was already dead, that it would be pointless. And when the family realized that detective failed to appear, one of the relatives asked the insurance salesman if he could guard the body instead. Unfortunately, to the insurance salesman, he wasn't exactly a brave guy, so he was really scared with everything that was going on. And then the body disappeared, then it reappeared, and nobody knew who was messing with the corpse of the dead millionaire. And everyone in the family could do it. And there was also the lawyer of the millionaire, who would supposedly inherit something too, and a very weird butler, who was played by Bela Lugosi, who could commit a crime too. So everyone in the house in that night was suspicious. And the relatives couldn't leave the house either, otherwise they would run the risk of losing the inheritance. Then the insurance salesman, he was there too, he couldn't leave. And then the crimes started to happen. One person was murdered. Nobody knew who killed him or why. And then the insurance salesman, he started to be a target too. And he tried to hide himself and so on. And at the end of the film, we realized that it was one of the relatives who wanted to steal the body and reverse the will, because he actually, behind everyone's back, he was the only one who have already read the will. He found out that he would not receive too much money, so he wanted to prevent the millionaire from being buried where he wanted, so he would get the largest share of the money. And he would kill everyone who was on his way so he could obtain what he wanted. But this guy was found out. And it's ironic because this specific relative, he was very complimented, because the first part of the will, it was read in the beginning of the film. Not the part where the millionaire said who would inherit what. He wrote a kind of an introduction on his will, and he told to each relative what he found about them. So it was the moment the millionaire could take things off his chest and tell in a very blunt way what he found about some of his relatives. So he called some of them selfish, or too vain, or too stupid, and so on. And the relative who was committing all those murders, he was the only relative who was really complimented by the millionaire. However, it was a trap. It seems that the millionaire lied in the introduction of his will, so people would get mixed up and would think, oh, he said he didn't like me very much, so I won't get too much money. Oh, he said he liked me, so I will get the largest part of the money. And this relative said in the end that the old hypocrite, as he called the deceased millionaire, that the old hypocritic had lied, and that he would barely receive any money at all. It's a very nice film. It's very short. It's around 75 minutes long only. It has all the classic cliches of horror films: women yelling, people fainting, weird things going on, people who looked very weird, kind of like a monster, a vampire, or something like that. Haunted houses, dark places, weird noises, and all this kind of old cliches that remain very efficient until nowadays. Bela Lugosi has a very nice participation as the butler. He was the weirdest looking of all of them, so he could be considered the greatest suspect of the crime, but it wasn't him. And it's an entertaining film. Time passes very fast while we watch it. And it also has all the 1940s fashion in clothing, in furniture. So it's enjoyable to see and notice those details. And it's a kind of plot that it doesn't get old. Some people may think it got old, but it didn't. It can be easily understood. It can be entertaining, even with those cliches which were used for so long. It remains very nice. And it's a film that I recommend very much. And Bela Lugosi, he is the embodiment of the classic weird horror character. So that's all for now, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you!